All right, this is an update on the 280C project. Most of the rust holes have been repaired by now. There's patches you can see behind the suspension, under the floorboard, in front of how do you say that, on top of the main unibody frame rail. This bottom corner had to be almost completely redone. It's not pretty, don't judge me. It's still solid though, it's pretty strong. And the whole rocker. In the last video, that area right here was completely corroded and gone, so I had to buy that piece because I don't have the skills to shape the metal in this form, so I had to spend the money, which I'm really cheap, so I was trying to avoid as much as possible. But that one had to be bought. It's not bad, I would say. It looks pretty decent, and when you close the door, pretty straight. There's still a dent here from the original crash that this vehicle had. The door had to be replaced because the crash was also part of it. I haven't finished with the upper frame of the window, so you can see it looks like a half door only. The good thing is that it closes and it opens properly, unlike the other door. This back section was gone on the other in the prior video. Again, I had to buy another piece because it's just a lot of metal shaping that I don't have the skills for, and it was actually not enough, so I actually had to make this myself. You can tell that it's not perfect, but I think Bondo will finish it. This car now, it has a purpose. Originally it was just going to be restoration and kind of see what do we do from there, but now we have decided that it's going to become a rally car. My wife has shown interest in the Dakar Classic. For whoever doesn't know what that is, that's imagine a Baja race, but it kind of goes for 2 weeks, and started the race started from Paris, France to Dakar, Africa, and I think they have gone to South America, and now they're in the Middle Eastern. So the plan to make this car ready for that race. I've been looking a lot of the technical recommendations, not recommendations, technical specifications of what the FIA wants to see with respect to the roll cage, the engine, what can I do with the suspension, etc. If anybody is curious, let me know. I can share all that with you. But I'm basing now this build on those technical specifications from the Dakar race. Some of the rust that I replaced was back here where the tire, the original spare tire, used to go. It was completely corroded and gone, so kind of try to make a replacement. It looks okay, I think, but it will do. This section right here was also corroded, right on close to the neck of the fuel pump hole, so I was trying to not get to the neck. The metal's pretty thin here, but overall this is I think 16 or 18 gauge, so it's pretty beefy. So now the whole thing is pretty solid. I had to, you can see from this corner, the welds for the rear side of the vehicle. I still have to cut this. They sell you extra, and the original holes where the bumper sticks used to come out. I'm debating if I want to completely shut it off or just cut it back again and give it the original shape. I'm still debating about that. So that's done. This is done. On this side we had a nasty hole here. There's multiple layers around this lip. I think there's 3. The outer skin, the inner skin completely inside. Right here, this is another skin of steel, and right in between there was another lip. It was, so it was 3 layers. I was impressed. This side, this corner right here is so difficult to recreate. There's the curvature of the vehicle, there is the curvature of the lip, and obviously the transition in between. I couldn't recreate it perfectly, and now there's a slightly of the indentation here, so I'm gonna have to probably fill it up with Bondo. This one came out really clean. I was able to give it the shape that it needed, and actually had to reinforce it from the inside too. I don't know if I can see the camera. You can see a little bit of the corner, and there's also metal in here, so there's 2 layers of steel. These tires are larger than the original ones. I really wanted to keep the 14-inch rims, the original rims, so it was a pain in the ass trying to find the biggest tire possible to fit in those rims. So I found this, I don't know what they are, Puma. I think it's Chinese crap, but it's the only thing that I could find, and obviously I gotta test to make sure that they're not indeed crap, because I don't want to go with crappy tires to race a rally and get flats all day long. So far this size, I think it's 27 inches tall. You can see barely clears that area. I might cut it a little bit just to get some clearance, and eventually I need to put mud flaps. That's one of the requirements, technical requirements for the Dakar, and it will be actually probably 2. This one is probably the most important one, so you don't throw rocks to whoever is behind you, but I also want to put some here because I know rocks will also go towards that section and start eat away the material. That also was replaced. Obviously it's not as pretty as it could be. It was really hard to give it that shape. It's very subtle curvature that it has, but again, it's pretty beefy. Inside of it there is an internal rocker, which I also had to redo. Obviously you cannot see it here, but I think I'd saved some videos on my Instagram of how I was rebuilding that inner corner. You can see it. I'm gonna put you upside down. You can see it here that this was also rusted, so this hole right here helped me rebuild that corner because there's no space in there to work, and I wanted to make it beefy, so because that's where the seat belts go, so it's gotta be strong. Doesn't matter if it's not pretty. Same thing here. These sections are a little thicker plates than what I would wanted, but again, this is a structural integrity what we're talking here, so I really wanted to rather be safe than sorry. The floor on the passenger side, you used to be able to see to the tunnel and obviously down on the holes. The camera doesn't make justice, but there's a good change of undulations here on the metal. So as I was welding, I was hammering to try to give it that shape, and there's a good chunk of distance from here. For example, from here to here is about 1.5 inches of elevation, so camera doesn't play very well. But it took a lot of hammering. As you can see, the shape of the hammering, it took a lot of hammering to give it that form. And here's where I welded on the bottom unibody rail. So everything is structural. I'm trying to obviously make the car stronger than what it was before. Eventually it's going to have a cage, so that will help too. That's where the battery sits. It was all corroded, so I put a new plate. I actually put it from the outside in, so if I zoom in, you can still see my cut of the metal. It's still, you see the sharp cut, and here's the weld from the outside right below it. I'm going to show it to you. This corner I had to also redo, and again, it's not pretty, but it's very beefy. It's very strong because this is where the mount for my fender wells go. You can see the rocker. I try to rebuild it. It's okay. It's not that great. Out there, same as the driver's side. The upper area above the main rail was all corroded. That's where water kind of drains from the battery area towards the main frame, and then it just eats it away. A battery base. There it is. Not much to say. Again, it's not pretty, but it's gonna work. Also, I got same as the driver's side. Had to make some patches right in between the suspension and the fender. The rust seemed to be starting from on both sides. There is canisters like this one from the AC and other stuff kind of bolted to the frame, and that's where the rust seems to start. There's also rust from both sides in the same area right here on the inside. Quite difficult to weld with all this crap, even though I removed it. Still, I didn't remove the radiator, but with this plate in the way, it's kind of difficult to weld so deep upside down. There's a full bead all around, so I think it's structural integral. Crap, my English, sorry guys. And same thing here. Then we have to put a plate here because there's a, how do I say this, there's this shape, this stamp steel shape right here that goes along the frame, kind of gives it a structural integrity and rigidity, especially here on the nose, so you can see how thin it is both sides. So it was important to make sure that these pieces are complete and doing their function. So on the other side I had to kind of redo the whole three-dimensional shape. There's a plate, but then there's also this thickness that you can see that it has. So trying to recreate the original design, and there you go. So now both of the hinges for the hood can mount and be strong. I don't want my hood flying away in the future. The engine now is running. It used to not run. I changed the spark plugs, I changed the fuel lines. The actual original pump works. It wasn't working, but after, I don't know, I started tapping it, work with the terminals from the positive and the negative, and now it's back to life. Eventually I'll change all the fuel management to something more simple, as I don't like all this wiring. I think it's just opening the door for failure modes. I'm trying to keep it as basic as possible, and again, if this will become a race car, we gotta be as simple as possible and as effective as possible. So I need to minimize potential failures like this one, like all these vacuum hoses and stuff. I already removed the EGR, the exhaust gas recirculation system. This car is one of those early era where they were trying to improve on emissions. So it used to come out from the exhaust manifold. I don't know if you can see, I actually welded it shut. You can see a little weld right there. There used to be a bung and a pipe going all the way here, and then the EGR will sit here and transfer exhaust fluid, exhaust gas into the intake via a vacuum actuator device that used to sit here. So now it's a little more cleaner, and I like the way it looks. I eventually gotta change the exhaust manifold. I don't know much about these L28 engines, but I don't like the fact that they have this Siamese head where the exhaust and the intakes are in the same side. Definitely not a good recipe for success if you want to build up more power, but I'll for sure try to improve on that. An exhaust manifold and better intake system, as well as the fuel management, hopefully will get me there. If anybody knows more about these engines, please educate me and guide me where do I can find all this stuff. Otherwise I'll just keep searching on the internet. What else did I do here? Let's see, I think that's all the welds that I have done. Yeah, interior, I think I showed you already that driver's side. Oh no, I haven't showed you the driver's side. This one was the worst. Huge panel missing, but now it's all welded. I try to do a single piece because on my old 280Z, which is my daily, I had a similar issue and I did it in pieces, and I don't like the way it feels on my feet when I'm driving. So this one is one single piece. I eventually plan to put in an aluminum piece or some kind of glue carpet, so the feet feels planted when I'm driving. What else did we do? This, I forgot the gauge of this. I think it's 18 gauge. Pretty beefy. And now also same story as in the passenger side. I had to hammer it down to kind of give it a shape that it needed, and it's not, that video again, not making justice, but there's good changes of elevation. You can see my hand how it's moving up and down, which gives it a rigidity. There's a quick little patch there, and same story here as in the passenger side. It's not pretty at all, but there were some intricate shapes here, and I was using some thicker metal to try to make this cross members strong, because my seat are going to be mounted there, and it's safety. Same story as in the other side. This side was so corroded, but it was good because I had visual and I also have access to this corner that I had to rebuild. Obviously you cannot see it because I had this new panel here, but the whole corner, this one was in worse conditions than the passenger side corner. It was just totally gone. It was rusted and it was hit, so you can imagine it was just nothing there. So I also welded this main frames from the unibody. They were all corroded and gone, and obviously that is critical piece for the structural integrity of these unibodies. They don't have frames to sit on, so the whole chassis slash cabin is what makes it strong. So I was trying to recreate the original one and in fact make it stronger. So I had to redo all the way to the back of the what this will be the behind the driver's seat. So this had to be redone and obviously continue this piece of frame. I did the same thing on the passenger side. Let me kind of go around and show you that area. This one was a little longer because there was just more corrosion. So this one starts way out there, almost at the front of the vehicle, kind of goes along two pieces. I had to make a joint here and continue to the tail. Same story, a slight rebuilding of the area behind the seat just to ensure that this thing is mounted to a solid piece. And that's it. The next sorry, there's so much rust that I had to repair. This piece for the fender, definitely not straight. I think this is probably the worst one. Curvature is there, the curvature is good, but the alignment it's not straight. But screw it, it's done. It's gonna be a race car and it's gonna be probably bombarded with rocks. And then I didn't notice this, but I might redo this. I don't know yet. And I think that same thing on this side. Crap, my memory. Same thing on this side. This one came out a lot cleaner. Obviously that you can see the straight welds, 2 squares and 1 bar here at the bottom. This one came out really nice. This is the last piece that I actually made. So I guess I learned. You see this black ink looking? I've been testing this product that I forgot what it does to the rust. I think it kind of I don't know the right word. It just stops the rust from oxidizing anymore, and kind of neutralize it. I think that's the right word. But it just looks horrible. It goes black. Eventually I'm gonna paint everything. I'm gonna coat everything with that, and then give it a first coat. I plan to paint the interior white, and then I'm doing still some research to see what DOM tubing diameter I want to use for the cage. The car regulations give you 2 options. You can use 50 millimeters with a wall thickness of 2 millimeters, which that puts you at around a little bit shy of 2 inches. I know what you're thinking, it's probably exaggerated, 2 inches on such a little car like this. And the other option is you can do 45 millimeters, which is just a little bit bigger than 1 3/4, which is a bummer because 1 3/4 I think is 44.5 millimeters, and the regulations for the FIA says 45 millimeters, which pisses me off because I really would like to use 3 1/4. So now I have to go with something weird like 1 7/8. I think that's the next size, and 2.5 millimeters wall thickness, which is it's not 120, but it's more than 95 thousandths. So somewhere in there, the difficult measurements with the FIA is giving me. So I've been doing some research to see which tubing I want to or I can use for this roll cage, and based on that I will buy the correct tube bender dies. Once the cage is done, I'll probably start working on the engine. We have already ordered suspension and arms and coilovers. These arms obviously are pretty basic. There's no much adjustment that you can do. So the ones that I bought will let me adjust toe in, toe out, camber, as well as the length. And since I'm going to be replacing these coilovers, well, these struts, slacks, and the front McPherson's with coilovers, and I'm gonna raise the vehicle, obviously trying to get some ground clearance for the races that this is gonna be racing on, as well as to to give more clearance to these tires. I really wanted bigger tires. 27 is gonna do it. I was hoping for 28, maybe even 29, but we'll see. Since these are the Chinese really cheap tires, and I still need to do some testing and break down the vehicle, I think this will do for now. I painted the rims. They were all aluminum, and it had oxidized. You know how aluminum oxidizes dark, so they were all single piece aluminum wheels, and I just brushed them and then painted the interior, the inside face, and I think it looks beautiful. It's a bummer that I cannot find better tires for a 14-inch wheel, but I really love the look. The coilovers here in the front, with same story as in the back, they will need to be cut. Unfortunately, that's the only way that you put coilovers on a Datsun 280 or 240, 260. Even the 280CX, I had to do that. So I'll put the coilovers, instead of welding it down here like they always recommend, I'm gonna do something where I weld it higher to try to gain an inch or two of ground clearance, and that will unfortunately mess with my geometry of my control arms. So I also order Apex Engineering arms. They're pretty pricey, but I think that's the right decision if I want to keep a good handling and good performance vehicle. So that will allow me to adjust the length, because as soon as I lift this suspension, this arm will go down and it will become the hypotenuse of this triangle, and it needs to be longer in order to keep the original dimensions. After that, I'll probably do all bushings and steering, but let's one thing at a time. Too many things. And I think that's all the updates for the vehicle. Yeah, just one quick final loop, walk around, and I hope that in my next video I can show you guys a lot more progress that is going to be visual. Right now, most of the work that I've done is just rust and repair, and just the wheels and tires. Hopefully, as I go forward in the project, I will be making changes like painting cage and exterior and suspension parts that will make the car look a lot more sexy. Well, thank you. Bye.